Hi everyone, and welcome to my Father's Day edition of my watercolor card tutorial series. Today I'll be showing you how to paint 2 cards for Father's Day, so grab your watercolor paper, your paintbrushes, and your paints, and let's get started. The first card that I'm going to be showing you how to paint is a classic tie. So you want to take a pencil and first outline your tie on your piece of paper, and this just ensures that you're painting on your tie perfectly center and avoiding any mistakes that might occur if you are just painting completely freehand. And you can choose to paint your tie using any design because ties obviously come in a variety of designs. So you can use a solid color, or you can do polka dots, or you can just do parallel lines like I'm doing here, and you can of course choose whatever colors you would like as well. If I was redoing this, I probably would have done a rainbow design with these lines because the bluish green color I chose was a little bit too pale for my liking and it wasn't as intense as I was hoping for. So you can either follow along with the design I'm doing or learn from my mistakes. Don't forget to, of course, tie the actual knot portion of the tie and also the collar that your dad would be wearing as part of his dress shirt ensemble. By the way, I just want to take the time to remind you guys to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do put out 2 videos every single week. Some are watercolor card tutorials such as this one. I do about 2 videos for every single holiday, and I also paint watercolor time lapses for nature paintings, and also I paint sketchbook Sundays where I just do a time lapse of a painting while chatting about random topics. So if that's sort of your thing and you've checked out some of my previous content and you like it, really consider subscribing and also consider liking this video because it helps me grow my channel. So once your initial layer has dried, you want to go over it a couple more times depending on how intense you want the pigment to be. Mine was obviously a little bit too pale for my liking, so I just went over it for a second time using a darker blue, especially for the dress shirt and especially for the stripes. Mind you, we are going to be going over the stripes with a black color or a permanent marker. You can use a black pen later on, so it's okay if it's not completely perfect or you go out of the lines just a little bit. So once your design has completely dried, this is where you can pull out your permanent marker or your black pen, and you can roughly outline the dress shirt, the knot, and the actual tie. And this is what's going to add those sharp edges that you're hoping for, but it also creates this sort of handmade hallmark look that at least I was going for, which is why it's totally okay if your stripes or your parallel lines are not perfectly perfect. You can also write in your Happy Father's Day greeting. As you can see here, I just wrote it in with a pencil first because this prevents me from messing up or missing letters in the words, so you can either freehand it or use a pencil first. Alternatively, you can completely forego writing Happy Father's Day if you like the design by itself. I also added some polka dots on the dress shirt just because I wanted to spice up the design just a little bit since I thought it was just a little bit plain for my liking, but again, you can forego this or you can do the same. Moving on to the second card, I would say this Father's Day card is a little bit more for the fun dad, and you can totally reuse this design for other occasions like birthdays as well. But basically what we're going to be painting is a rainbow splat. So you're going to start with a red, which fades into an orange, yellow, green, and eventually blue and purple. And you're going to be freehanding, or you can use a pencil, of course, to draw on your blob first, but you can definitely freehand this because you're just creating these waves of blob looking shapes that gradually fade into different colors. If you haven't seen some of my recent happy birthday card tutorials that I put out, you should definitely check those out because there's a very similar design to this one in one of those videos, in that it is a rainbow splatter pattern, but it is a lot easier to do simply because in that tutorial at least, I quite literally just dropped blobs of pigment onto the piece of paper, so they just naturally created this splat pattern when they hit the paper. Also, we are using the wet on dry technique here, so don't wet your paper before doing this, because if you do, your paper, or rather your pigment, is just going to bleed everywhere instead of achieving those really crisp edges that we're trying to achieve, so just keep that in mind. If you do want to use the wet and wet technique, you can definitely do that by painting this exact pattern using only water and then dropping in pigment and allowing the pigment to sort of disperse by itself. I'm sure that that would create an equally cool look, so you can definitely experiment with that if that's what you're into. You can also add some droplets that are coming out from the blob to further insinuate that sort of splatter effect, and it also is used to fill up some of the white space if you have any. And then of course, you can write in your Happy Father's Day greeting again, or Happy Birthday if you're using this design for a different occasion, that is totally okay. And again, I used pencil to outline my Happy Father's Day before actually writing it in with a black permanent marker. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching my tutorial. Don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and also check out some of my previous uploads.